Let's continue with chapter number 10 from your history book of grade 7, and the name of the chapter is Jahangir, Shah Jahan, and Aurangzeb. And today we are going to complete this chapter. So let us start from Aurangzeb. So Aurangzeb, the last of the great Mughal emperors, ascended the throne in 1658 CE after a bloody war of succession. His reign or rule was almost 50 years, covering the second half of the 17th century CE, saw the expansion of the Mughal emperor into the last single state India had ever known. By the end of the 17th century CE, it stretched from the Kashmir in the north to Kanyakumari in the south, and from the Hindu Kush in the west to Chittagong in the east. The vastness of the Mughal dominions or the areas, however, was not matched by sound administrative policies that would provide stability to the empire. The 50 years of Aurangzeb's rule, that is 1658 to 1707 CE, had been, or you can say, can be divided into roughly two equal parts. During the first 24 years, he lived in the north, dealing directly with North Indian affairs. During the second half, he lived in the Deccan, trying to crush the growing powers of the Marathas. So Aurangzeb's early rule or the early reign, in contrast of the peaceful and stable rule of Jahangir and Shah Jahan, Aurangzeb's rule was marked by the outbreak of many revolts. Two factors were mainly responsible for outbreak of this kind of revolts: the vastness, that means the wide area of the Mughal emperor with its remote frontier provinces. Number two is changes in the administrative policies, for instance, the reversal of Akbar's religious policy. One of the Aurangzeb's biggest missteps was to reimpose the jizya and the pilgrimage taxes on his Hindu subjects. He succeeded in crushing some of these uprisings, but at a very heavy cost. The draining of the economy and military resources of the empire Aurangzeb's authority was challenged by the ambitious Ahom ruler of Assam in the northeast frontier, the freedom loving Afghan tribesmen in the northwest frontier, the hardy free spirited Jats in the Delhi Agra region, the rebels or the rebellions, Bundelas of Bundelkhand, the Satnamis, a peace loving sect of the peasants, artisans, and traders. The greater challenges, however, came from far more dangerous enemies: the Sikhs, the Rajputs, and the Marathas. So, Aurangzeb's last rule or the last reign in 1680 CE, Aurangzeb turned his attention to the Deccan and renewed his efforts to annex the kingdoms of Bijapur and Golconda and crush the power of Marathas. He marched to the Deccan in 1681 CE, where he spent the last 26 years of his rule. Thus began the second phase of Aurangzeb's long reign, which he spent fighting against the Marathas and the sultans of Bijapur and Golconda. He never turned to north again. Aurangzeb's Deccan camps, that means annexation of the or capturing of Bijapur and Golconda. Aurangzeb annexed or captured Bijapur in 1686 CE and Golconda in 1687 CE. The annexation of these two states provided or proved harmful to the Mughal Empire. It became too vast and unwidely and brought the Mughals in direct contact with the Marathas. So the Maratha War started. Aurangzeb now turned his attention to the separations turned to the separations of the Maratha power. In 1689 CE, Shivaji's son and successor, Sambhaji, he was captured and executed. And the Maratha capital was occupied by the Mughal force. Sambhaji's son, Sahahu, who and the rest of the family were imprisoned. Rajaram, Sambhaji's younger brother, managed to escape. In 1690 CE, Aurangzeb's power was at its height, that means at its peak. His empire was stretched from Kabul to Chittagong and from Kashmir to the river Kaveri. He had at last fulfilled his ambition of establishing an all India empire. He seemed to have gained a lot, but in reality, he had lost a lot. Rajaram carried on the struggle against the Mughals. The Maratha armies ravaged and plundered Mughal territories. After Rajaram's death, the leadership of Maratha resistance passed to his brave and capable widow Tarabai. For the next 18 years, various independent Maratha chiefs harassed and harassed the demoralized and harassed and demoralized the Mughal forces. So Aurangzeb, now over 80 years old, refused to negotiate with the Marathas till the very end. He carried on the, you can say, campaign against the Marathas' strongholds. Weird and allying, he returned from his last campaign and broke and defeated man and died in Ahmednagar in 1707. Aurangzeb's attempt to crush the Maratha power failed. At the time of his death, the Marathas had emerged as the second center of political power and a great threat to the Mughal Empire. The long years of struggle with the Marathas had several consequences for the Mughal Empire. The wars had drained the immense treasure of the Maratha treasury and ruined the economy of the Deccan. Aurangzeb's prolonged absence from the north led to a slacking of administration, accompanied by corruption, disorder, and lawlessness in many parts of North India. Nobles became rebellious. The Jats and the Sikhs strengthened their positions. The Mughal soldiers in the Deccan mutinied. The fine cracks which had appeared in the grand edifice of the Mughal Empire at the end of Shah Jahan's reign turned into gaping branches by 1707 CE. Now, finally, we will find the decline of the Mughal Empire. During the first half of the 18th century, the Mughal Empire decayed and disintegrated. The Mughal Empire lost its power, emperors lost their power and glory, and the vast empire finally shrank, that means became small, to a few square miles after Delhi. The unity and stability of the Mughal Empire had already been shaken during Aurangzeb's long reign of 50 years. His successors were pleasure loving, weak, and inefficient, and they were puppets in the hands of the powerful, ambitious nobles who controlled the administration. The provincial governors took advantages of the weak government at the center and set up independent kingdoms in the Mughal provinces. This led to the breakup and collapse of the empire. The Mughal Empire lasted for over 3 centuries. Its collapse led to the intense rivalry among various powers to fulfill the political vacuum. The struggle ended with the victory of the British, who ruled India for nearly 200 years. Thank you.